wabarakatuh. My name is Aprisya Ika Handani from English Education Department. Hello there, in this video we're going to talk about reported speech. First up, we need to know what reported speech is. Well, reported speech is basically change from direct speech to indirect speech. Usually when communicating, we tend to use direct speech. And when we meet other people or discuss the same thing, the direct speech changes to indirect speech or reported speech. Here the difference between direct speech and indirect speech. Direct speech is a straightforward statement. So, for example, some people say, I traveled a lot in my job yesterday. In direct speech, we quote directly with exactly what other people are saying by quoting marks. That she said, I traveled a lot in my job yesterday. Or it could be, I traveled a lot in my job yesterday, she said. While indirect is an indirect sentence that is retold. The example is the same. If someone says, I traveled a lot in my job yesterday. For the indirect speech, she said that she had traveled a lot in her job the previous day. Here there is a change. First there is the word that, which is usually used in indirect speech. The second change is the subject. The subject I changed to the subject she, because the one who says that the other person is not the person himself. So here, of course, there is a change in the subject. Then the next very clear change is shown in the tense from verb to past form. Now followed by had plus the third form verb. Furthermore, what changed was the pronoun, which previously contained the words my job in direct speech. We changed to her job because it was someone else here. Then the last change is the time statement, which previously yesterday changed to the previous day. Next, the elements of direct and indirect speech sentences. For direct speech, she said, I'm seeing my brother tomorrow. While in direct speech, he said that he lived in the city center. Reporting verb is part of she said and he said. Meanwhile, the sentences we repeat in the direct and indirect speech are called reporting words. So there are two elements that we must pay attention to in direct and indirect speech, namely reporting verbs and reporting words. Here are the three important points in converting direct speech to indirect speech. The first is subject and pronoun. The second is tenses, and the third is adverb. The first change is to form direct and indirect speech sentences, subject and pronoun. Here is an example of quote from someone. I was walking along the street. For direct, she said, I was walking along the street. So here, the one who says the words in quotation marks is she, while the reporting words are exactly the same as the quote. For indirect, she said that she had been walking along the street. Here we can notice the subject change from I in the indirect to change to she, because here it is saying someone else. We take the pronoun who is saying it, so we change the subject to she. And the next example is they had already eaten when I arrived. For direct, he said they had already eaten when I arrived. In direct, the quote is exactly what someone else said, and it turns out that the person speaking is he, so that if we form an indirect sentence, it changes to he said that they'd already eaten when he'd arrived. Why has the subject they not changed? Because the he who said this statement was also not included in this group of people who had eaten, so when we say it in indirect speech, we also still say they. The second change to form direct and indirect speech sentences is tenses. The first example of simple present for direct speech, they said, "We are a student." The first example of simple past for indirect speech, they said that they were a student. The next example of present continuous for direct speech, Kayla said, "I am living in London." While the example of past continuous for indirect speech, she said or Kayla said that she was living in London. The example of present perfect for direct speech, Rudy said, "I have gotten an assignment." While the example of past perfect for indirect speech, he said that he had gotten an assignment. And the last example of present perfect continuous for direct speech, he said, "I have been doing my job." While the last example of past perfect continuous for indirect speech, he said that he had been doing his job. The third change is an adverb. It can be a description of time or place. The first is the day changed to that day or the same day. Tomorrow changed to the next day or the following day. Yesterday changed to the day before or the previous day. Next week or next month or next year changed to the following week, the following month, and the following year. Last week, last month, and last year changed to the previous week, the previous month, and the previous year. Now or just changed to then. Ago changed to before, here changed to there, and for this changed to that. And here the example for direct speech. Clara said her brother is washing her car yesterday. While in direct speech, Clara said that her brother was washing her car the day before. Next, Bobby said, "I'm not going anywhere tomorrow." While for indirect speech, Bobby said that he was not going anywhere the following day. And the last example is, my sister has said, "I'm doing my assignment now." While for indirect speech, my sister has said that she was doing her assignment then. Direct speech for sentence having modals such as can, may, must, and here the present modals are changed to past modals. And here the example. The modal can change into could. For direct speech, she said, "I can write a poem." For indirect speech, she said that she could write a poem. The modal may change into might. For direct speech, he said, "I may go to Paris." For indirect speech, he said that he might go to Paris. And the last modal must change into had to. For direct speech, she said, "I must eat a healthy food." While for indirect speech, she said that she must eat a healthy food, or it could be she said that she had to eat a healthy food. Direct speech for sentence having modals such as should, might, could, would, or ought to. And here the modal will not change in indirect speech. And here the example. The modal should for direct speech, she said, "I should not waste my time." For indirect speech, she said that she should not waste her time. The modal might for direct speech, he said, I might attend the meeting. For indirect speech, he said that he might attend the meeting. The model called for direct speech. She said she could play a guitar. For indirect speech, she said that she could play a guitar. The modal word for direct speech, she said I would wait for my son. While for indirect speech, she said that she would wait for her son. And the last modal is ought to. For direct speech, he said I ought to start a business. For indirect speech, he said that he ought to start a business. Okay, that's all. I hope you can understand what I mean and that you can distinguish the use of direct speech and indirect speech correctly. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.